All right, once again, it's Kenny Lowe. I'm here back to share my debrief of phase two of the 75 Hard program. It's actually the year-long Livehard program, but phase two. So this is November of 2020. A lot of things happened this month, but I ended phase two after starting this spring with the 75 Hard program, and then the Live Hard program going into phase one after that. So some of the takeaways from phase two for me. So phase two, you're going back into the same routines in terms of nutrition, water, or I should say a meal plan, right? A fixed meal plan. Your gallon of water a day. Your reading, your progress picture, and two workouts, 45 minutes each. One has to be outside. So you're going back into those same basic principles of the 75 Hard program. Um, which is a little bit easier in some regards from the phase one, because phase one has the cold showers piece in there that can be a challenge. Um, but one of the challenges automatically jumping into phase two that I was noticing is you have to wait 30 days in between phase one and phase two. So I know some people were asking, well, why wait? And, why don't you just jump right into it? But the program's designed to force you to wait, and there's a couple brilliant pieces that kind of challenge you mentally in there. Is one is that 30 days, that break that you have to wait. And it can be longer than 30 days, right? But it has to at least be 30 days. So that's enough time to get you out of the routines that you have developed in that 75 hard, in the first 75 days, or however long it takes you to do it. You get into those routines of, okay, I wake up, I'm going to take a progress picture, or I take a progress picture after I work out, or you get into some of those routines of, I'm going to drink a ton of water before I go to work and do this is when I do my workouts. So I had developed into my routines with 75 hard. That went pretty well. Phase one was good to go, and I did my debrief on that. But phase two, you have to wait 30 days. So it's enough time to, like, if you've been, depriving yourself of something, restricting yourself to something that you've really been wanting to eat or something like that with your meal plan, it's enough time to fall off, essentially. You have enough time to fall off, get yourself into trouble, break some of those routines, and maybe develop and get back into some of those old habits. And I was, I knew that coming in. So that was one of the things that I was discussing going in is like, let's see if, because I hadn't been as strict with my routine, if I have more cravings, or the nutrition and kind of strict. I do kind of like a ketogenic type approach to eating of very low carbohydrates, but in my break between phases, I wasn't as low, and staying really strict with that. So it's kind of like, well, am I going to be craving those things throughout this? And there definitely was some of that, where it was a little bit more challenging. But I think by now you probably have, they say phase two can be the most difficult, but by now I think, at least for me, I'm just mentally willing to do the work necessary to kind of finish this and make it through this as soon as possible. Not having to start over, not having to, I'm not on the fence of whether or not I want to try to do the program or not. So I'm in, full in, or all in, so to speak. But one of the other challenges that I wasn't quite thinking about with the phases is that force of having you break for 30 days. That forces almost enough time has elapsed since you first started the program. 75 days have went by, probably maybe more if you've had to repeat anything. And then jumping into phase one. So that's 100 plus days. So you've been through 1.5 seasons, maybe. Then you take another 30 days off. So by the time, for me, I was in spring and through summer, and then did the phase one, kind of summer, early fall. But now you're into later fall, October, November, colder weather, more rain, bad weather. I'm up here in the Pacific Northwest. So you're into some weather changes that make it a little bit more uncomfortable than your normal routines. So one of the things that I had gotten the habit of is on times when I'm single parenting my son. I have a 5-year-old. So I put him to bed and hit the parking lot out inside of my home and just pace back and forth, walk back and forth, and come in every 10 minutes, 15 minutes, make sure he's in bed still, but just keep pacing the parking lot to do my evening exercise. And in the summer, that's fine. Doing that when it's 30 some odd degrees outside, it's a little bit more challenging, and getting yourself worked up to make sure you do that, when you already, I'm snuggling my kid, putting him to bed, and getting cozy and winding down for the night. But then, like, oh man, I have to get my outdoor workout in. Busy day with work. One of the other challenges, just for me, my ex had went out of town for 2.5 weeks, so we normally split time, and I drop him off and get a little break where I can do my own thing. But we got the pandemic online kindergarten situation. So I'm trying to help him with online kindergarten. I'm trying to put in my 8 hours of work for my job, and then I'm also trying to fit in the tasks associated with this program. And I found myself really forcing myself to stick to the routines, and get out there, do my walking. And then again, another thing that really started halfway through 75 hard is how can I make this a little bit more challenging? How can I up the ante? So I found myself on a couple of those nights, 40, I think the first time I did it was like 42 degrees, 43 degrees, and I was walking, and I was just like, it's just, I'm just fortunate to be in this situation where I'm doing this, and so I took off my sweatshirt, walking around in a t-shirt out there, and then got that kind of cold exposure in the evenings, um, along, because you don't have to do the cold showers anymore for phase two. So just finding little unique ways to make this, it's not really a challenge for me, but make this program my own, make it a little bit more challenging, push the envelope with your kind of mental toughness, and what you're willing to do, what you're willing to endure to get to your goal. And that right there, I think, is really key. I'll talk about that some in some other videos, but um, and that's a good self-awareness piece, is what are you willing to endure to get through the discomfort, get through the pain, to get to your outcome. Tim Grover, the book Relentless, says the work to get there is irrelevant. You don't have to love the work, but you have to crave the end result so intensely that the work becomes irrelevant. So, very much has been my ideas about many things in life, but this program is no different for me. So yeah, so phase two, 30 days, it's not a lot of change in my physique, and the progress pictures aren't showing that. Mental clarity, and just living, really setting out a goal, and setting it up and knocking it down uh, builds a lot of confidence, man. So really, really am striving forward in a lot of things, personally, professionally, and feeling good, feeling confident about all that. But yeah, 75 hard. Phase one is done. Phase two is done. Again, phase three, I can't jump into, I think, April, because I started the program in May. So we'll see. I've been debating, do I jump back in with another round of 75 hard in between this time when I'm passing time? Um, Another big takeaway, obviously, I've talked about it before, but there's evidence behind me, stacked behind me. But the reading, man, the reading is been critical. I got books everywhere in my house now. It's like the reading has been so transformational for me. Um, Personal development is something that I've always been into. Listening to podcasts, walking, and I really like the combination of that, podcasts and walks. Um, but the transformation that I'm making intellectually, spiritually, nutritionally, just your knowledge base expands when you dive into some of these books. And one of the things I've been, I'm in the mental health field, but I've been trying to explain to some of my colleagues is, best practices in, professions, some of the medical professions, some of the mental health professions, some of the best practices are things that were studied in textbooks, they studied academically 20 years ago, which again went through their clinical studies and their rounds of trials 15 or 20 years prior to that. So some of these things are dated, some of them are best practices. And again, we know the data on some of these science figures shows that the funders are, play a key role in the outcomes of what you're trying to get, what you're trying to prove. So you're 9 times more likely to get to the outcome that your funders desire in some of these trials. So you start get factoring into some of that information of what people study, but I've really dove into these books, and you just see what people on the cutting edge of some of their some of their studies, people on the cutting edge with their research, whether it's spirituality, pairing spirituality and science, motivation, habits, behavioral design, mindset, perspectives. It's leadership. Like I got the John Maxwell book. So it's like you get to the meat and potatoes, so to speak, of what is relevant in today's society and what is relevant right now in helping individuals that sit across from you with when you're a coach or you're a mentor or a clinician. Um, you really are better able to help people when you stay in tune. That's why they have continuing education, but people sit through that just to check a box on their recertifications or their credentials. Um, so yeah, reading for me has been huge. I've read more books in the past throughout the course of 75 hard phase 1 and phase 2. I've read probably 12 books at least cover to cover. Um, Whereas before that, I've read a couple. I don't really want to jump back into shaming myself for how little I've read over the years. But yeah, 75 hard. The 10 pages a day turns into 20. Turns into let me just finish this chapter, and then you start building that confidence of I got a book right here where I finished my reading, and I always check to see how far through the book I've progressed, and you just start building that momentum, and next thing you know. Next thing you know, you look like a library. So it's all good. My self help is definitely not being stored as shelf help because I don't even have a bookshelf in my house. But I'm getting there. But yeah, it's just transformation is real. The mindset, the shifts, the confidence of saying you're going to do something and getting it done no matter what. Cold weather, hot weather, work, online kindergarten, homeschool situations, co-parenting, single parenting, no excuses, get it done. Election drama, pandemic. You just feel real unstoppable, really. So anyway, that's my phase 2. It's a little bit longer than I had intended, but phase 2, 75 hard, live hard program, grinding away, loving it. Um, we'll see. I can hear my little guy in the background now. So we'll see how what I choose to do between now and jumping into phase 3. But right now, I just feel real unstoppable. So thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, hit me up. Let me know. Let me know where you're at in considering 75 hard, or if you've jumped in, if you tried and you didn't want to stick it out, or maybe you're in some of the phases. Let me know. I'd love to exchange stories with you. But until then, I'll talk to you later. Peace.